When I first started, it was meant to be like a more diverse podcast. But I quickly learned as I started that that's kind of not, it doesn't really work. And now, in particular, we focus on having verified traders so that you can trust the words that they're saying.
Run us through a life of a trader. Like, how much money can you make as a full-time trader?
A real full-time trader is uncapped, and they made millions, like tens of millions. Trading is uncertain. There's recently someone in the trading space who made out they took $100 to $1 million. Alex G.
I've seen that dude. Yeah, I know who you're on about.
I believe that.
He blocked me a while ago saying the same thing I just said to you.
Do you feel like anybody could learn how to trade if they applied themselves enough?
I think anyone can. Anyone can. That's the beauty of trading. There is no limitations. However,
I'd be interested to find out, with everybody who gets involved in trading, what the percentage ratio is to people who make it.
oh, it's like
money.
99%. Like 99% of people fail.
Wow. The Tates, do you feel like they're a force for good or a force for bad?
I think they're a force for themselves. I thought, yeah, he says some things that are good. I don't like him anymore because we do almost $1 million a year through the podcast. So I think we're probably one of the best monetized podcasts.
Really, that's crazy.
That's
That's like
nuts.
2.5 years. That is.
We can make money, boys.
You can, yeah, you definitely can.
Today, joined by Riz. Riz, those who have been living under a rock and don't know who you are, can you, just explain who you are and what you do?
So my name's Riz. It's also known as WordsOfRizdom. So that's the YouTube channel. It's the podcast in the trading space. So we're the #1 trading podcast in the world, fastest growing as well. I would say one of the fastest growing podcasts in the world, if you take away like celebrity or social media sort of podcasters. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. Last 2.5 years, it's been an incredible journey, and it still blows me away of what we've done, but we've really now sort of like really knuckled down and really trying to just continue that growth, because I think a lot of people, they have growth and then they kind of slow down, start go sideways. Yeah. So we've thankfully not done that ever, and looking forward to trying not to make that happen and to keep it going.
What's the purpose of the podcast when you first started, or now?
The interesting thing is, when I first started, it was meant to be like a more diverse podcast. My goal was to kind of have what everyone's probably podcasting goal is, to be like a Joe Rogan and a Flagrant, like just a fun, diverse podcast that can have really serious topics and then funny moments and just kind of have a laugh as well. But I quickly learned as I started that that's kind of not, it doesn't really work. I remember the first few, if you go back, it was with my friends who traded. I tried to have podcasts where it was like more fun, and they just didn't come out with much quality. So very quickly I learned to just kind of niche down. So we really focus on, now in particular, we focus on having verified traders with track records, so they're proven traders, so that you can trust the words that they're saying. We didn't start that way. We started with your more sort of influencer traders, but still I would have like a checkbox in my head of, is this person sharing a legitimate and realistic journey of trading, and not just have anyone on, because I'm sure I could have all sorts of crazy people on. But yeah, we just niched down. We niched down and really focused on trading after a while. I'd had people on, like my editor, my main editor from the pod, my brother-in-law, my mother, one of the world champion boxers from Nottingham. But yeah, I just kind of, what had happened at that point is they were like probably 40 episodes in, like in that range, like in the first 40 episodes. But even then, by that point, we'd kind of built a niche for ourselves. We were probably at, I don't know, 10,000 subs or something, so nothing crazy. But then the views would drop on those episodes because people were tuning in for trading. So people would still tune in for those ones, but still it would have less. So I kind of just went, okay, I'm going to lean into trading, but just go all in on anything trading and investing related. So whether it was crypto, futures, options, like any type, I will cover that, but I just won't go outside of trading, or at least for now. Like there's still maybe potential of it happening, but I doubt it at this point.
It's not. Yeah, no point.
Some of the metrics, you're up to 220 from what I've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong.
280 now. Yeah.
280,000. Yeah.
280. It's grown that quick.
You probably looked yesterday.
280,000.
60k overnight.
Yeah, 280,000. Yeah, it's incredible.
So that's why probably like 2.5 years. That's why you would sort of see it as the fastest. Well, one of the fastest growing podcasts. What's some of the other metrics? Like what's your average listen? What's your average like watch rate on YouTube?
To be honest with you, I don't look deep into it, but like average watch rate, I'd probably say is the average view length, which is weird for a podcast, but I think it's like 20, 25 minutes. But I think with podcasting, it's quite normal, because I don't think it's very rare for someone to sit down and watch a whole podcast from start to finish.
Yeah.
I think they'll watch a portion of it. There'll be some people who do that, but they'll watch a portion, come back to it, watch a portion, come back to it. But yeah, in terms of like the metrics, that's something we're working on now, which is funny because you would think like to have that sort of growth, we're probably really ingrained into the numbers, which probably we should have been earlier on to maybe even maximize that growth even more. But that's something actually that is our focus this year. And we just literally started. Whilst I was on that tour, my team back home were focusing on putting in systems and starting to track those metrics and things that influence those metrics, whether it's thumbnail or title or ad placement or the style of intro. Like we're really starting to get more focused and dialed in on those things now.
Proper Stephen Bartlett.
Not maybe as hard as him, because I know that he goes absolutely
He goes
insane.
mental,
Yeah. Which again, like there's levels to certain things, and I think to me that might feel like overkill, but to him obviously it works. And I'm sure like for other people it might work as well. For me, my bread and butter has just been focusing on the quality of the production, quality of the conversation, and then being consistent most of all. Those have been my main factors, and I guess focusing as well on like the different niches you can find, so like different polarizing statements or polarizing takes as well. Obviously are always very helpful as well.
So Riz, going back, where did business kind of start for you?
Business for me is when I was a teenager, the classic story, I'm sure maybe someone here has probably done the exact same thing, is, selling sweets in school and trying to do that sort of thing. But business for me is, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I never had like this is the thing I want to do in entrepreneurship. I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never went to uni. I didn't finish sixth form for that very reason, because I convinced my mom, and bear in mind, my mom's a barrister. So it was like, as you can imagine, education was big. Yeah. But thankfully, it was never like a battle with her. It was more so, she had always taught me if I wanted something, I would need to pitch it, like do a pitch for it. So even when I wanted like PlayStation games growing up, I would have to pitch the game. Like, why this game?
Always be selling.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it was really good. Like, I was very, very blessed growing up in terms of, a large part of my mindset and who I am is because I had my mom and the way that she thought and the way she was. So like entrepreneurship wise, the reason I didn't go like college and uni, for example, is because I said to her, like, I don't know what I want to do if I go there. So I'll just be going for the sake of going. I'll just end up doing like, a business degree or IT degree and just for the sake of it. And I'll put DOS off. So I'd rather just go work or try and be an entrepreneur, whatever. She said, she gave me X amount of years, gave me X amount of years as a deal. And if I didn't succeed or didn't find what I wanted to do, then go to uni. She actually let me go past those years, thankfully. So I never actually went to uni. But yeah, in those years, I just tried all sorts of things, man. I tried to buy and sell DVDs that we shipped in from China, so they weren't real. That actually worked out quite well for like 2 months. And then I messed up on an order that hadn't arrived yet, but I sold them already.
I see.
But
That's
then they
smart,
didn't.
though. That's how you do business.
Well, you'd say that until the point where they don't arrive, ever.
And you spent the money.
Everyone.
And then, everyone's complaining, like, where's the DVDs? And you're like, okay. And that was back in the DVD days, so you can imagine Netflix wasn't really around at that point. Tried that, failed at that. I was going to open a restaurant. Luckily, that didn't happen, but I thought that was my calling. Did a lot of research, was looking at locations and everything. The one major one I did do was off-license convenience store. And it was the same one my dad owned, funny enough. So I was trying to do a full circle moment and all this. And I thought, as soon as I got into that shop, I was looking at the next location to open another shop before I'd even made this into anything. And that was a big failure. I lost like 100,000 plus in that.
Wow.
From like from the lease to the stock combination. Paid for my lifestyle. I didn't really have a lifestyle, but a lifestyle for that period of time I was in there, like a year. But failed at that, and then, but when the funny thing is, like a month into getting that place is when I came across podcasting. I didn't podcast at the time, that was in 2016. I didn't podcast because I thought I needed 20,000, 30,000 for a studio and all this equipment. So I said, okay, can't do that. But that's when I came across trading. The exact same, like literally the first month of that shop, I came across trading. So that year is when I used to sit in the shop and just was trying to learn to trade, buying a course and watching videos and so on. So in essence, having that shop, even though it failed, kind of helped me to have time and to be in a position where I was sat in one place all day. Because I used to work like 14-hour days there, 15-hour days there, do the stock and then just sit behind the till and do all that stuff. But I would have my laptop there and I'd be trying to learn how to trade. So then that didn't work out, that shop. That's when I moved to London, that I mentioned earlier. Or to you guys off camera, I moved to London, and then I worked in a shop there. I remember when I tried to get the job, the guy said to me, "Oh, you're overqualified." He didn't want to hire me. I was like, "Why?" He's like, "You're overqualified." I was like, "What does that mean? Like, how can you be overqualified? I just want to work. That's it. I just need cash in hand job. Cool." And he said basically that all the staff will hate you. I was like, "Why?" And I found out all of his staff were essentially like immigrants, right? And they just hated me because I was just like the only English guy in there. And I'll do the work and stuff, but I don't know. They just didn't like me. But then from there, I ended up getting married. I don't know why I'm giving my whole life story, to be fair. But eventually worked in the trading place. In the trading place, that opened the door to social media. And that's when I always was interested in social media. I would always do posts, like written posts, but I never did videos and stuff. But in that position is where I first started doing videos. I was always natural to it. I never was a script kind of guy. I always I'm terrible, even now, I'm terrible with scripts. But I was a natural to doing the videos. I didn't start off really, really good. I started off very not as polished, not as smooth.
But you started.
That's how I started. Yeah, I started there, and then that's where I kind of made a very small name for myself in the trading community. Left there, had my own thing going for a bit, and then started podcasting. And that's like in a nutshell.
With the actual trading floor itself, was that just like a brokerage in London? Like,
nope.
Talk us through that.
That was like an influencers trading course. They were like one of the first. Like they were like one of the OGs. They were the first course I ever bought. So I actually put them on this pedestal, thinking like these guys are great, blah blah blah. Then when I worked there, I found out that they weren't the case. That wasn't the case.
What were you doing for them?
I was doing like sales and customer support, if you will, and like
so
teaching.
Anybody that was buying the calls.
Yeah. So I was like doing the sales. I was really good. I'd done sales jobs before, so I'd worked in like call centers and stuff. And as my mum had taught me how to pitch and stuff, so I had this like natural ability for it as well. But I love sales. I think I've always said, like, if you don't go to uni and you're struggling and you want a job that pays good money and you have the drive and the work ethic and can handle the pressure, like sales is the best thing to do.
I completely agree with that. I think it's the highest paying industry in the world because you can literally write your own paychecks. But I feel like the people that actually make it in sales is a very small percentage. Mm-hmm. It's like the 80-20 rule, right? My old manager used to say this. You'd have 20% of the sales team taking home 80% of the commission and the other 80% would share the rest of the 20%.
Yeah, that's fair.
You always see like a top biller on the floor. He's got a nice car, a nice watch, which is interesting. So you started off in like the shop game, transitioned to trading. Is very kind of different. They're like worlds apart, right? So quick pause from the podcast to give a special shout out to one of our sponsors, the Rejuvenation Doctors. The Rejuvenation Doctors is a hair transplant clinic in the northwest of England, in Bury, owned by Dr. Jamie. Now I can personally vouch for these guys as I myself, around 2 weeks ago, had a hair transplant from Dr. Jamie. The service was amazing. It was very VIP. He looked after me. And boys, if your hairline's going back, if you're receding, if you've got that McDonald's hairline, don't wait until it's too late. Get it sorted today. Dr. Jamie's details will be in the description of the podcast. Make sure you mention that you heard about him through the Multipliers Club and he will sort you out. Let's get back to the pod. Run us through a life of a trader. Like, how much money can you make as a full-time trader?
Well, a real full-time trader is uncapped. Like, I just did this tour, so there were traders who were independent traders, meaning that it was just them. They didn't work at a particular, like prop firm or investment firm or something like that. It was like just them, and they made millions, like tens of millions. But not to make that sound like easy. It's not like an easy thing. But in terms of trading, that's one of the big benefits is that it's uncapped potential. Someone could make hundreds of millions just by themselves. One guy in particular, he's took $20,000. And he's made 70 million so far. Still trades to this day.
In what time frame?
I want to say probably about 10, 15 years, something like that. So not crazy, to be fair, not crazy length. I want to say probably like more 15 to 20 years, I would say. But with him, his niche though, is he doesn't look at charts. He literally uses TikTok and X for trade ideas. So he'll find, I'll just give you a quick example, like the Hunger Games movie. When that was coming out, he was seeing all the people tweeting and the TikToks and everyone getting excited on social media for this movie, which wasn't really, before it came out, it was a book, which of course would have had a niche audience and everyone would have known that, hey, this movie's probably going to be really good. But the mass people like me, for example, I would have had no idea until the movie came out and I watched it. So he already knew ahead of time all this buzz and he knew this film's more than likely going to be a smash hit. So he invested into the production company months in advance. And then once obviously everyone else clocked on that it was a smash hit, you see that stock price, fly, then that's when he's exiting. But that's his whole strategy, even to this day.
Damn, that's
Same
clever.
thing. Yeah.
So he kind of finds like the narratives and where the buzzes
Exactly,
are and invests that way.
You buy the rumor, sell the news.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like
That's
they
his
say, right? By the
strategy.
time you hear it on the news, it's too late.
Exactly. That's exactly what you said. Yeah, exactly. On the podcast, that's exactly what you said. So once everyone else knows, I'm out.
So
That's
he's
when
not
I'm out.
necessarily in Forex then as such.
He's more in stocks,
He's more stocks.
Yeah. So that's the beauty of the pod. The podcast in the UK, as you guys probably are aware as well, like Forex is huge. Like it's pretty much the only type of trading you really hear about is Forex. While everywhere else, to everyone else, in America in particular, like Forex is the most scammiest industry. Like all the traders across the world look at Forex as like this scammy thing, which to a degree it is. But yeah, I've been lucky to really interview. I started with more Forex because again, a lot of the pods were here in the UK. But then, now we've had like options, futures, crypto, stock trade. Like a lot of the traders in the US tour were stock traders or like low cap stops. So not like penny stocks, but a low cap is like up to $1 billion market cap. And that's where a lot of people make a large sum of money. Like a lot of these verified traders, one made over 100 million, another one's made over 100 million just doing small cap stocks.
It's interesting that you're saying you're getting the verified traders now, because one of the reasons I reached out to you is because we've all tried Forex.
I've tried like 5 times.
Yeah.
Like over about 10 years on this
And
year.
like everyone we know is always asking about it, talking about it. People doing it. People have tried it for years or tried it for a little bit of time. And we wanted to get someone on that knew about it. But then it's like we didn't want to get someone on that was like, you don't know if it's real or not. You don't know if are they really trading, or they're just selling a course, or that they're probably making more money from the course. We don't know. So I thought you're probably the one of the best people to get on.
In your opinion, why do you feel that Forex has such a kind of stigma around it?
I think it's mainly around the one market. Well, it's actually interesting because I really picked this up when I was on this tour a little bit more. But one of the main reasons is because in Forex it's not centralized. So there's no centralized exchange. So like with futures, it's a centralized exchange. So really to simplify that, it just means that there's one order book. So all the orders go to one place. That means every broker has the same price. Every broker is using the same information, while in Forex it's just all scattered. But most of all is because in Forex, because of that fact as well, you can create marketing accounts. So like a lot of these influencers that you guys probably know, and a lot of the people in the UK know, are using these marketing accounts. So it's essentially just a fake account. Like those people I mentioned when at that place I worked at, that's where I learned about this in the first place. Because at that point I thought, if someone's showing a real account, it's real. But yeah, you can basically change anything and make anything you want on these marketing accounts. So you can even trade, say you placed a trade, and then let's say if it actually lost, you could change it to a winner or just delete it, right, off the record. So you can just make whatever you want. You could make out, like there's recently someone in the trading space who made out they took $100 to $1 million. It's just a marketing account. And it's unfortunate because, and I think the other thing I just mentioned, what I learned recently.
I know who that is.
Yeah,
I think.
there you go.
Is he in the States?
Yeah, he's in the States. Yeah,
Yeah. Pink Bugatti.
Pink Bugatti. Yeah,
I can't remember his name. But
Alex G.
Yeah.
But
I've seen that dude. Yeah, I know who you're on about.
I believed that.
that's the thing, though. It's like it's very easy to fake, especially in Forex. It's like it's so easy to fake.
You have to have money to have a pink Bugatti. That's all I can think.
Yeah, but then like that, as you guys mentioned, like how people selling off services. And again, I've got nothing against it. Like, I don't think like he's an amazing marketer. I always give props. Like he's incredible when it comes to marketing and networking. He's done a video with John Jones. He hangs out with Dana White. He hangs out with the Nelk Boys. Like I have nothing against him, but when it comes to the trading side, it's just not realistic. It's not real.
You had him on the pod?
No. No. He blocked me a while ago for saying the same thing I just said to you. But it's just what it is. Like I don't hide it. I don't hate. Like I don't have like a negative feeling towards it.
I actually had my notifications on my phone because I wanted to follow his story.
I can imagine
that badly because I was like every time I thought he'd post every time that he'd make a trade. So but not necessarily I weren't trading, but I wanted to actually see.
No, of course, yeah. Because you want to. Everyone wants that, right? Everyone wants that. Whether it's trading or anything else, it's like everyone wants to find the thing where you could put $100 into it and make $1 million, right? So that's why it's so appealing. But that's the dangerous side. But the other part of that question, was that the barrier to entry for Forex is so low. Like it's literally just you could put in $50. Like it's so low, so it makes it so easy to market to everyone. And be able to do things like that, like $100 to $1 million. Like the amount of people that would follow that and want that to be true is everyone. Like if I did a story or a post or whatever saying that this guy's fake, the amount of people who will hate on it and will be like, "Oh, he's real," will be insane, right? Because they want it to be real, right? And they don't know. Again, they haven't gone through the experience I have and what other people have gone through, where they've had to learn the harder way of actually seeing these things for themselves, like seeing these fake accounts. I had one guy, that guy I mentioned where I worked at, showed me an account on his phone for 5 trillion, right? Just he said, I made this for Bants. And I'm just like, well, this is crazy. Like at the time, I was just like, I didn't even know this existed.
So is this on? So all the screenshots that everybody shows is
MetaTrader,
MT4 or MT5. Then you can see the profits. So there is a program where you can edit it and make it look, because I've seen people try and prove that it's real by going, oh look, this is a live account. They'll click where it says live account. It'll say who their broker is.
The way someone explained it to me was like, think about it. This is an app on a phone, right? So being an app, it's just code. You can just change code any way you like. But essentially, you just get a back end. You have a back end to the MetaTrader. So normally you would either, again, have a marketing account from a broker that provides this to you, or you would just, if you have a broker, you have access to the back end and you can just edit anything. Literally edit anything.
Yeah, that's mad.
Every time I've seen live, I've just thought, it's got to be live.
I was the same as you guys, right? But then I think once you're in the industry long enough, hopefully you'll learn.
What do you think that the most common misconceptions are with trading?
That's a good question. I think the common misconception is that it's like passive income with trading. Like it's not passive. Like
same everything. Everyone wants his passive
income.
Exactly.
Right? The only thing that's passive is like like real estate investments to a degree, because even they're not fully passive, right?
Yeah.
But I would say like what's it called? The dividends. Dividends from stocks. That's the only thing that's probably passive.
Yeah.
But to get the money to put in there to give you income that will give you a full-time life, that is not going to be passive.
You've got research the stocks as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
There's some work to it.
There's always work. Yeah, I think that money for nothing is the biggest misconception in life. Like everyone wants that. We all want that. But yeah, when it comes to trading, the biggest misconception is that it's passive, because the biggest thing that gets promoted by these influencers is laptop lifestyle and the freedom and stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's an element of truth. Like with trading, of course, you could take a trade on a beach and you could take a trade anywhere, of course. But the reality of doing it full-time, reality of doing it at a level where you're making millions, is that you will have a very structured routine and process, and you have to stick to that. And if you don't stick to it, you're more than likely not going to get results.
What they're missing out is, maybe you can go to the beach and do that trade, that's fine, but how many years did you have to learn it before you could go and do that trade on the beach that you wanted to do? So that's where it comes, right? It's people get sold a dream with it, really. Especially, I think influencers, I don't know, I guess sometimes I think it's silly that people can trust these influencers in the first place, because like they're obviously just doing it because they're getting paid.
I've been in some of the groups though, and it is like, and I can see how they kind of get people.
Oh yeah, it's just like a same law, some easy money.
Some of them are like real trades in a sense, but it's not about the actual signal itself, because that's what it is, right? People are handing out signals. Places trade, they'll tell you when to place it. But what I've noticed is, because I know enough about trading, I'm not an expert, but I know a little bit. So they'll have like a TP1, TP2, TP3.
Yeah, exactly,
They'll go, right, I hit TP2 right now. Oh, you can hold, but they don't tell you how to manage your risk or how much they put down. So it's like every trade is winning, but it's because TP1 was 5 pips.
Exactly, yeah, it's so close.
Winning trade.
Well, the other thing with the signals, though, the reason why signals don't work, because you have to think by now, like if signals actually worked, there would be one that worked, and everyone would know about that one because it works, and everyone would go there. The simple reason why it doesn't work, regardless of, because even if, let's say, a fully legitimate trader gave them, the reason why it won't work is simply because, like, for it to work for you as someone copying it, it means that you would have to be taking the exact same trade at the exact same time, in the exact same way, and managing it in the exact same identical, when by the time that person sent you the signal, it's already moved. And even if it's moved by a pip, right? Yeah, and closing as well, same thing. But like, even if it's moved by a pip, that whole trade is, the statistics of that trade and the numbers of that trade is just shifted, even if it's very slight. But the reality of you making sure to take every single trade is so slim, because you might be at work, you might be in a meeting, you might not have had your phone on, and you just missed one trade, and that one trade might have been the winner out of the 5 trades that then lost, and could have made the difference.
So it's like you have to go all in on it and do all of it. Because when we were doing the copy, I remember this 10 years ago, and we were following people, but then it's like, if you miss one of them, it's frustrating, because that's the one that wins.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I mean.
Suddenly you're like, oh, this is...
But we were putting our hard-earned money in at the time. At the time, there weren't such thing as prop firms.
Yeah.
And now there's prop firms. So for the listeners that don't know what a prop firm is, can you just talk us through?
It's like it's just a method to leverage your skill if you have it, hopefully, to have capital, right? The thing with prop firms is they're a great benefit for sure if you have edge, if you have the skill, like you have the trading down. Unfortunately, most people don't have the skill down. They just see it as a way to essentially, again, that allure of big money. Like this is a way that, I don't have $100,000. I could just pay $500, get access to $100,000, but it's not the reality. Like, don't get me wrong. Some people have managed to game the system where they've learned the statistics of like, okay, if I risk super high, I can just pass it. And then they treat it more like a casino where they will get like a lump sum of money, 10 grand, let's say. And then, out of 10 grand, I can get 20 100K challenges. And out of that 10 grand, sorry, I'll probably lose 9 of it, but 2 that I do pass, I'll end up making 30, 40. So just playing this risk to reward of, this gaming the system. But prop firms have kind of like really changed recently to try and reduce that. But yeah, all it is just leverage to capital.
I do like the fact that if you do learn it and you get good at it, that you can leverage your skills by getting funded effectively, because then you can get. Most people aren't going to have 100 grand to trade with, but they get given 100 grand if you pass a challenge, and then you've got 100 grand to play with. Well, not play with, but it's
trade with. Yeah, you get rules
with.
And everything, of course, and get restrictions of how much you can lose and stuff like that. So it is good in that sense. But not just that though. If you have the skill set of trading, like money's not a problem. Like the money should never be a problem when it comes to the skill set of trading. That's the beauty of it. Is like if you have if I had the skill set of running a shop, that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean anything at all. If I have a skill set of trading, and I have the track record to prove it, even if it's not on real money, but I can show that over the last 2 years I've managed to do this return with this much of a drawdown or losses, limited the losses, and so on and so forth. I can break down that edge, that playbook, that strategy that I'm using. An investor will give me money. They will. They might start off with 10 grand, right, and test it for a few months, or 50 or 100. But the money's not a problem when you have edge. Because there's those prop firms we talked about, which are really evaluation firms, because there are the original prop firms, which are better in terms of their real capital. They actually want you to succeed. They want you to do well. They will back you if you have edge. And with those real prop firms, they will capitalize you up to 30, 40 million, 50 million even, right? And you'll get a good profit split, 60, 40, 70, 30 even, if you're really a good performer. So money's not a problem when it comes to trading. It's just having edge. And that's why most people lose. They just don't have edge. And edge is, if you want me to define it, is just having it's probabilities. It's creating a system that has a higher probable outcome of being profitable. And it might even just be slight. It might be like 1 to 1.5, for example, whatever it may be. But that's what having edge is. And it's just backed by data from the markets, from your strategy. And just 90% plus of people just
numbers
don't do
lie
that.
at the end of the day.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. It all comes down to the numbers, and just 90% of people just don't have that.
What do you think it takes to actually be a full-time trader, like from now? So if I wanted to start doing this today and I want to become a full-time trader, what do I need to do? What's the best way to do it, and how long is it going to take me?
Well, I'd say watch WordsOfRizdom, obviously. No. Cheeky plug. But no. Truth is like, the funny thing is, before I did this tour and went the verified route, I thought, access to sort of verified real information probably is so limited. But in reality, there's so much of it now. A lot of these verified traders are on X, they're on YouTube. They're sharing a lot of valuable information. There's a lot of books as well, of course, like just originally, a lot of these original traders from back in the day, their knowledge still stands. But the best way, I would say, like, I could easily sit here and try and say, you can learn trading in a year. Like, no, guaranteed a year. But it all depends on the person. There are people who can do that. I would say on average, though, you're looking at 3 to 5 years on average. You're going to have probably a good chunk of time at the beginning where you're going to struggle and you're not going to see much progress. But the reality of who will make it is those who really have a competitive edge, right? Because trading is as close to a competitive, professional athletes and sports as possible.
It's the L's you take, right, every single day.
It's the same, it's the same mindset. So like, one trader who's like one of the best traders I've interviewed, he's made, over 60 million. A lot more. He hasn't publicly shared exactly how much he's made, but he's made a lot more. But he's shared over 60 million, which is incredible. And his mindset, he struggled when he first started. He was thinking about giving up. He was, wasn't the best trader in the beginning. But the reason why he ended up performing well is because he had that mindset. He had that LeBron James, that Michael Jordan, that Kobe Bryant mindset. He would actually record his screen live when the markets were going, then he would re-watch it in half the speed to really be taking in the characteristics, the movement of the market, to really take on board what was going on. And he meticulously would review, and he still does to this day, and that's the mindset. So like, if you wanted to be a full-time trader, time scale, you're looking at probably 3 to 5 years, maybe shorter. Like I said, depends on your work ethic and how much time you have to be able to dedicate to it. You know, how much you put yourself and try and put yourself around other great traders as well. That will increase the learning curve. But really after that is that competitive edge. All of them share that. They all share having edge, but then that competitive edge where it's not about competing against other traders. It's just that they compete with themselves against the market, make sure they're at their peak performance and doing all the things necessary to help them be at their peak performance, whether it's focusing on health and their sleep, or whether it's focusing on, okay, I have this gap in knowledge, let me go seek that, or mainly meticulously reviewing their data and reviewing their trades.
Do you feel like anybody could learn how to trade if they applied themselves enough, or is it more of a kind of, do you feel like, you know, if you're academic naturally, it helps you more? Or do you feel like anyone could learn how to do it?
I think anyone can. Anyone can. That's the beauty of trading. There is no limitations. Like literally, you could be however old, you could be however young, you could be man, a woman, wherever you're from, your background. However, it's not necessarily academic. There'll be an element of maths for sure. You know, be good with numbers, because that's, you know, what it boils down to, as we said. Like the numbers don't lie. So be good with numbers. A huge part of it is the passion, like actually being passionate about the markets, not money. Like you might start with the money, which is fine, which is natural, but actually be passionate about markets, so meaning like whatever the markets you're trading, the fundamentals, so the news, everything to do with it. You're passionate about it, you enjoy it, because you're going to need that, because when you lose, that's the only thing that'll keep you going, you know? But there will be an element of being able to change and be adaptive, because some people in life just find it hard to change. Most people, if anything, find it hard to change, and trading is going to need that, because trading, it's not a case where you have a winning system and that's it, you're now a winner and that's it. The markets are always changing based on volatility or liquidity and all these different factors, and so the market movements are always sort of changing. When I say always, it doesn't mean day to day. It's like seasonal, it's like cycles, it's like, could be quarterly, it could be yearly. Like now with Trump coming as president, that's going to change the markets. It already has. This month in January has been absolutely insane for the markets, which we haven't seen really since he was last in the markets, you know, like last in as president. So you have to be able to adapt, and I think that's something that these are little traits you see that really probably refine and funnel down who should be a trader, you know, because risk appetite is going to be a big one. If you can't handle losses, you should never be a trader. And
you have to
probably
be so
not
resilient though, right?
Yeah.
Because you might be looking at the charts and think, okay, look, I think I know what's going to happen, right? But it doesn't work. But then you have to go again with the same strategy. Because you think it's coming, and then you have to go again, and it might not happen, and it might happen after 4 times. But you knew it was going to happen, but it just didn't happen in that time. But you have to have that resilience to keep going. I think you probably learn a lot how to control your emotions, right?
No, exactly, yeah.
Emotions are the biggest thing I found. Just as a normal retail trader, like you're looking at it, and it's like constantly checking your phone. If you're holding a trade overnight, and you're up at night, and you're like,
yeah, no, it's true.
I feel like that's the battle probably of 99%
of
traders who are retail and just start out.
Trading puts like a mirror in front of you. Like that's the one thing with trading that I don't think many other things do, is that it's the ultimate self-reflection. Like it will constantly tell you where you're fucking up and exactly how you're fucking up. Like it would literally tell you that. And you know, a large part of it is, like, as you guys are saying, is like the limiting beliefs. Like we aren't ingrained through the education system or any of these things to be ready to do something where you're doing the right thing but you lose. You know, you did the right thing but you lost money. That doesn't make sense. Like if you turned up to your job and then you didn't get paid, you would be like, what? Like that doesn't make sense. You know, while we're trading, you could turn up for a whole month, you could turn up for a whole quarter, like 3 months, and not get paid, and you did everything right.
You can lose money.
Yeah, exactly. You can lose money. Exactly. They take money from you
to go to work.
Yeah. And so for our minds to get around that takes a certain level of being able to change and be able to, you know, really ingrain that sort of thought process into your head. It's not easy. That's essentially probabilistic thinking. Like to be able to do that is extremely hard. And so therefore anyone can be a trader, but most people won't be a trader because it's like these different factors.
I'd be interested to find... Sorry, Jake.
Guys, a quick pause from the podcast. So for those that have been listening for a while, you'll know that I have a design and build company. I started as an apprentice electrician. I built up this multi-7-figure business in the last 6 years. And now I've managed to progress to also do my own property developments. Now I get a lot of messages from you guys asking for advice. So I thought, I'm going to give something back. If you drop me a message on my private Instagram, JoeTodd23, drop me a DM, then I'm willing to offer you a free 1-hour strategy call for any trade or construction business to put something in place to see how we can help grow your business.
I'd be interested to find out, with everybody who gets involved in trading, what the percentage ratio is to people who make it.
Oh, it's like
money.
99%. Like 99% of people fail.
Wow, that's crazy. So in theory, for every sort of 10 people that get involved in trading, one might make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
That's 10%.
Oh, fuck,
That's
yeah.
This is 0.1.
You would be very good at trading. See,
I was just going to say,
great.
A lot of it is down to not
one in
giving up.
100, right?
Yeah.
In theory, which is crazy. So with that person, that one person in 100, what are the characteristics? Like, what's different about them from what you've seen in traders, personality types?
It's just, as I said, it's they understand themselves. They're able to change. They have that competitive edge. They're disciplined, of course, 100% disciplined. And don't get me wrong, when it comes to the discipline, it doesn't mean that they don't make mistakes. That's another thing, is that they understand that you're going to make mistakes, that you're human, you're not a robot. But it's just being able to learn from those mistakes quickly. And they're just willing to do the work. Because I think, as we mentioned, like collecting that data and building an edge and being able to sort of play those probabilities, it takes immense work. Like it means that you're doing what is necessary to be able to even try and be a profitable trader. Well, like I said, 90% of traders or more, like 99%, the ones who lose, they aren't willing to do the work. They won't do the back testing, which is like where you go back in time and try and collect data. They won't even do the data collection, even though there are programs and softwares that make it 10x easier than people back in the day. They're not willing to, review their trades and even go beyond, as I mentioned about that one trader who, slows it down. They're not willing to do these things.
It's the patience, isn't it? Right.
Yeah, it's the patience and having realistic expectations. Not willing to. And again, it might not necessarily all be the trader's fault. I'm sure I'm making it sound maybe like, these people are lazy, but also is what message is being promoted to them. That's a large part of it. Why did they get into trading? Their whole concept of trading probably was wrong when they first got in, which isn't necessarily their fault. So then when they're trying, they've got this certain image of what it should look like. And when that isn't the reality, it can be emotional. And make them quit.
Are you still trading yourself?
No. So I'm always very vocal on the podcast of everything that I do. So like when the podcast really took off, I couldn't trade. Not that I couldn't, I chose not to. Because the amount of time that I put into the pod was just insane. The traveling and everything. Because I had a very specific trading model where I'd trade the 2 hours in the morning every day. And to be fair, I don't really do too much in terms of podcasts in the morning every day. So I could trade. But trading, as I mentioned earlier, requires that focus. It requires that meticulous energy. I haven't met many traders who are doing multiple things. Like these verified traders that I've just interviewed, none of them are doing multiple things.
It's a lifestyle though. Trading is a lifestyle, right? Isn't it? It's like everything revolves around it because you can't really have too much days off because you need to follow the markets.
Exactly. You need to be in tune with it. Yeah.
It's interesting how it's marketed when people are selling the courses online, because it's like you were saying earlier, they really do talk about that laptop lifestyle, right? Yeah. So let's talk about the kind of online space. Who would you say are some credible gurus? Of course, you being the GOAT. And then, who would you say are not credible, like in the influencer space? Who should people be aware of?
In the influencer space, so like the credible traders, there's one called Umar Ashraf, very close friend of the podcast. He actually owns up one of those softwares that I mentioned. It's called TradeZella. But he's a phenomenal trader. He's made like 30 million. He's been...
He's a young guy.
He's quite young. He was my age, actually. He's just slightly older than me. He just had his birthday, so he just turned 30. But incredible, yeah. He's made 30 million plus. The last time I spoke to him, it was 30 million, so it's probably more now. But he was very early on in terms of sharing like his live logins to his brokerages, and he trades options. So options is a more regulated space. You don't have these marketing accounts or anything like that. And so him. Lance Brightstein, the guy I was talking about earlier, who's made 60 million plus, slowed down the charts. That was him, Lance Brightstein.
Does he have a course as well?
He just launched one. Yeah, he literally just launched one now. Well, he launched a free course, but he has a paid version as well. But he's basically retiring from trading now to spend time doing philanthropy and doing like charitable work and stuff. So that's great. But he's phenomenal though. Like it really shows what hard work ethic and hard drive and a focus on the details can do. But there's loads though, like the guy I mentioned earlier from TikTok and X, his name's Chris Camillo, whole different style of trading, Linda Rashke, she's a phenomenal trader. She managed a 100 million hedge fund She was a trader who actually blew up, like as in like lost all her funds twice in her journey and built it all back. But she's retired. I don't think she has a course or anything, but someone to follow. But Market Wizards, to be fair, like if you really want to like just find the stories of phenomenal traders, Market Wizards, guy called Jack Schrager wrote that book. He's the one who actually inspired us to really push the verification route when I did a podcast with him. But there are actually a lot more than people realize. Like a large part of why I didn't verify from the very, very beginning was two reasons. One was I thought, who am I? Like, 5,000 subs. I'm going to DM someone who manages 100 million, say, send me your brokerage statements and come on my podcast.
So is this what you do now? So sorry, just going back to that. You say you verify.
Yeah. So we ask people for their statements, so their brokerage statements, their track record, essentially. Really, I said the bare minimum is a year, but really I'm going to do 2 years because 1 year you could just get lucky. Like you need to see, even 2 years you could get lucky, but you want to see extensiveness. But like a lot of these veterans I've been having on, we're talking 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, so it's even better. But now, I do. If they're going to, I might record with someone. If they haven't sent it me yet, I'll say to them, I'm not going to put this out until you send it me. So if you don't send it me, I'm not going to put it out. I'll try not to do that because it's a waste of studio time and my time. But yeah, now I ask them. So you'd be surprised how many people message me and then I don't hear back from them.
That's fine. Yeah, that's so you can see that.
Yeah.
Do you not want to get someone on who's not verified, who may be in the space, who's not putting out the right message, and kind of put them in the hot seat?
Not really, because like I've had someone on, for example. I didn't mean to do that, but he was this guy who was making out he manages 200 million, right? And this was when I was just on this ramp, like we were building momentum, and I was just recording with not everyone, but I was recording with as much as I possibly could with like good personalities and good followings and who people were requesting, and so this was one of these guys. But I knew, and I'd done a podcast the day before with Umar Ashraf, so I'd already had this like talk about verification and like what real trading is and so on. So I already knew like 200 million, this guy has to be lying, basically. So I sat down with him, and I didn't like try to purposely like put him in a hot seat. I basically just asked him what I ask everyone, which is tell me your journey. But with him specifically, I said, tell me how you got from, and I think it was like $2,000 to $200 million, whatever it was. And he just spent the whole podcast time telling this elaborate story, like just details that didn't even need to be in there. And at 3 different times, I'd not stopped him, but when it came to a little cut, I'd say like, okay, but how did you get to 200 million? And he just told this whole story until the end, like until the very end. And at one point, he forgot a part of his story where it was like a billionaire who gave him $1 million.
Oh, that billionaire that you forgot about.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah. So that's what I was basically like at the end of it. Yeah, at the end of it, I just said to him, like, your story seems fake. Like, it just seems far-fetched. But I didn't say, like, it is fake. I just said, it seems fake. I have to do... And I shouldn't have said this because then people tried to use it against me. I was like, I'll go do my research. Everyone at home, you do your research. That's what I said. And everyone, all his like followers would comment like, you should have done your research before you did the podcast. I was like, obviously I did, but I meant more, whatever. Yeah, but anyway, he was the only guy I ever did that with because it was just so fake. And because then afterwards I realized he'd told the exact same story in the exact same way, except for he didn't forget the billionaire on 2 other podcasts. With me, he just forgot the billionaire, which was a major red flag. Now he trades like 500 million. He's still going.
How did you go about getting him on? Like, is it someone you saw and thought you wanted him to come on?
I just DM'd him. Yeah. I just DM'd him. But the thing is, I'd seen the 200 million thing, and I obviously thought, this is really crazy, but I'm interested to hear the story. But because the day before I'd interviewed Umar, and he was telling me obviously about the Forex space, because he was a Forex trader, this guy who does the 200 million. He was telling me about the Forex space. He was telling me about what's realistic, what's not, and so on. I kind of already had this mindset going in, like, this guy's lying, which I wouldn't normally necessarily have. I'd let them say what they want to say and then question them on certain things. But yeah, so it's kind of been a journey for me, though. It's like I've learned as I've gone through the podcast as well, because I came from the Forex space. And yes, I knew you had marketing accounts, but I didn't realize just how bad Forex, to the scale it was, and how bad it was actually perceived by other parts of the industry. So I've learned as I've gone along, and I've scaled my knowledge, but also scaled my responsibility. Classic thing, like like Tate used to say, or when Tate was big, and then he had that little moment where he tried to humble himself, and he was like, "I have a responsibility now," and then he just went straight back to what he was doing. But yeah, like I realized though that as the platform has grown so quickly, and it's at a point now where I can ask people for verification because I have the responsibility, number one, but also the authority, if you will, to be able to say, could you just send me, if you want to come on the podcast on this platform, just send me this statements or whatever. so yeah, so then now I do that. So that someone like that would never come on the pod.
Because people trust you, I guess. They think if you're putting someone on center
Exactly,
stage,
yeah. Because I've always said though, before I verified, I was vocal that I didn't verify. So it wasn't a case where I left it to people's I said very early on. I didn't say it every episode, but maybe I should have. But yeah, that was something that people were, when I went verified, people were like, "Oh, you didn't verify before?" And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't. I said that though."
People need to do their own research, though.
Yeah,
At the end of the day.
There's that too, but I think like when you have someone on a big platform and you're promoting as like, saying they've made this much or they've done this, especially in our space where there are so many scammers, like it definitely helps to verify. Like it's when me going verified, I have so much more peace of mind myself. I think the audience resonates with it more as well because you can trust the words. While before, there's always that maybe thought potentially with certain people where it's like, I don't know, like.
Thing is, I'd never actually, because I listened to your podcast a lot last year, and this is at the beginning of last year, and I never would once listen to your podcast and think every word that these guys say in the gospel.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Yeah.
I still kind of had a little bit of like, but I'm a big skeptic with a lot of stuff. So I was never thinking, oh my God, these guys, like, I'll believe every word they're saying. You still have to have like a little bit.
a lot of people just markers
in you.
Yeah. But you know how people are though. Like that's how you guys think, and you guys are entrepreneurs, and you guys have been through the journey, and you've been through highs and lows. Well, most people are probably quite beginners. Most people haven't taken risks and stuff. So most people are maybe not. I wouldn't say naive. They're just not as experienced.
It's a shame because these people end up thinking that whatever industry it is, whether it's marketing or whether it's trading, like because of that experience they had with that first person, they now think that whole industry is a scam.
It's
right?
true.
When actually they just unfortunately went with the wrong person, and then they've given up on doing that now, right? You mentioned Tate, right? Because didn't you have a night out with Tate, or didn't you meet Tate? Right?
I met Tate through Raheem. So I did that Raheem podcast, and then when I was there, he mentioned, I'm going to go see Tate, and I asked him, do you have a team? Because he does everything himself at that point. And I respect that because I was like, yeah, that's crazy. I've never set up a camera. I've never edited a video. I've never set up even a microphone, which is terrible. I think in one degree, I think it's terrible because it's like you should at least, let's say if all my team disappeared or didn't like me anymore for whatever reason, I would be lost. I'd have to find someone else. While Raheem was doing it all himself, everything. And I respected that. But I said to him, like, it's a big episode. Have you got a team? He said, no. So I was like, look, if you want, I can ask my team, and I'm sure they'll come. And we ended up going. And
great experience. Though.
Yeah, it was a great experience. It was cool to see, It was cool to see. And you see they are the same person in the sense, like they are the same off camera than they are on camera, just really heightened down. And of course, like on camera, they're just doing the whole polarization. Yeah, you can see that. But yeah, you can see, like, actually, the funny thing is, like, Tate himself is actually much slimmer in person than you would think. But then, who's the other one?
Tristan.
Tristan's massive.
Yeah.
He's huge. Like, he's super tall and he's super, like bulked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But he wears
Andrew
those, like,
says
fitted suits and stuff.
Yeah, he eats once a day, but he'll eat like 3,000 calories, but he won't eat until about 9 p.m. So he'll fast the whole day. He'll train. It's probably why he is slim to a degree. So it'd be interesting to get your opinion. The Tates, do you feel like they're a force for good or a force for bad in your opinion?
I think they're a force for themselves. That's it. I think they're a force for themselves. I think like it's easy to. I've never been that guy. Like I know a lot of close friends of mine. Like one particular close friend of mine just started idolizing him. Right, it started all the time sitting like this, and everything.
He's listening like it now.
Yeah. And I've just never been that way. I thought, he says some things that are good, but then there was loads of stuff that I thought just like, well, I don't know why I get why you're saying it in terms of a polarization side of things and viability, but like it just isn't a good message, I don't think. But then more recently, I don't like him anymore because more recently, I think with this stuff that's been going on in the UK, which are valid concerns, like when it comes to like immigration and stuff like that, but just the way he was going about it and the way he was doing the messaging, I just think was so dangerous, especially in the fact that he faked that, or I would say he faked being Muslim on purpose. Like they could gather both sides. So like one's Christian, one's Muslim. Now we can just get all this audience and really get all the Muslim side and all the Muslim like younger generation, and then the Christian side as well. And then afterwards, he's just attacking, like basically attacking Muslims and attacking like the Asians in the UK.
It's so interesting to hear you say that because I thought similar. I thought he's gone over to Islam, right? And I could be wrong. It's the biggest religion in the world. So if he can, increase his audience by doing that, it's, you know, I mean, it's a powerful move. It's not an ethical move by any means. I think, love them or hate them, they're excellent marketers.
Oh yeah, they were one of the best. They changed the landscape of content, of course. Like short form content really took a whole different angle after they did their thing. You know, people like Iman Gadzi and all these guys, like they took inspiration from the blueprint, but did it, I would say, in a smarter way, in a better way. And yeah, like, but they made a killing as well. Like at the same time, like they made, and they still do, they made insane amounts of money from I would say probably one of the biggest courses that ever existed. And it wasn't even like a quality product. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like this amazing thing that you're actually going to learn something. Unless you're like 13 or 14, like people probably did learn something. But yeah, nothing against them in terms of, you know, I've never had this feeling of like, oh, I hate this guy, I hate that guy or anything like that. But I just think, I kind of lost respect for them when they started doing what they did. You know, during that period. But I always recognize that one thing I always recognize with them is that they always wanted to be famous. That was their thing. Yeah. Like they did the Big Brother, they did all the other reality TV shows, they did the music, they did the kickboxing. They've done that also.
Prior to Big Brother and all of that stuff, there's Andrew Tate and Tristan. They went on loads of reality TV shows when they were like 19, 18, 19.
Yes, I mean, yeah.
And you can kind of see how he's kind of formulated his character by design, because if you see a video of Andrew when he's like 18, 19, he's just a really skinny, tall nerd with glasses.
Yeah.
You know, and now he's like this big, bulky, bald guy. Yeah, he's created his character. Yeah, it's definitely by design.
Shows you the power of branding and positioning, like how you can reinvent yourself. Like it's incredible. So I think a lot of people probably get scared, like, you know, if you make one mistake or you know, you are the way you are now, like that's it, you're done. When in reality, you can change whenever you want. You can learn and adapt anytime. And I think it's a powerful message. Like you can learn a lot from what they've done. Yeah. And you can even learn a lot from some of the things they've said, for sure. And I'm sure they've helped a lot of people. But I think they've also, you know, created certain mindsets with certain people, which are not, I wouldn't say dangerous is a very strong word, but like just are very negative. Like they won't be the most positive for that individual. But everyone has to learn. And again, it's like what you guys said earlier about like trading, for example. It's like it is down to everyone to choose. Like you have to choose and be careful of what you listen to and who you consume, and then but also do more research and not just act on the first thing you hear or do anything. And that's with everyone. So it's not even just down to them. It's anyone, because there's other people who then took what they did and then just copied it like for like, but probably did it even worse. You know? And yet people will still follow it, because sometimes I think it's like what people want to hear. You know, they want to hear that sort of stuff. So then when they finally have someone, they're like, oh, this guy's the best. You know?
Yeah. I believe in terms of like the controversial things they say, I don't even think they believe a lot of the things they say. I think they do it purely for virality, in my opinion. So speaking about virality in the Forex space, just bringing it back to Forex, would you say it would be fair to say if somebody's trying to push a course on you, they're probably not the best traders, they make more money from the course than trading, or could that not be the case?
It depends, because if they're pushing it like aggressively all the time, then yeah, I would probably say so, because there wouldn't be, you know, why would you have the need to do that, right? If it's a constant thing. If you have a course in trading, but then you have verified results, then there's no problem. Let's say, for example, someone actually had verified results. You know, regardless of what those results are, it could be that those results are only making, I say only, but let's say if it was only $1 million a year. So, you know, the reason I say only is because everyone normally is like, I made 100 million and I'm making 5 million a year, whatever. Let's say it was only $1 million a year, right? But they made 10 million from their course. There's no problem with that, because they've proven that they've made $1 million a year from trading. And they're just amazing at their systems and funnels and whatever to make 10 million from their course. I get why people would probably get, you know, annoyed in terms of, yeah, why, if you're so good at trading, why have a course? It's like, well, trading is uncertain. Like I mentioned earlier, you could lose for 3 months in a row. How are you going to pay your bills if you're losing for 3 months in a row? But you're doing everything right. So you could have a losing year, right? Think about it. If you're trading for a 30-year career, what's the likelihood of you having a losing year? It's very high, right? It's going to happen, more than likely. And even if it's not a year, it might be 6 months. Well, regardless, what matters though is that there's no stability with trading. You cannot predict how much you're going to make. Right? You might make money all year, but it might only be small amounts, right? Where you could not be able to pay your bills. So that's why having an outside source, it doesn't have to be a course.
I was looking for a course because when I was starting to look at trading, I was listening to your podcast and that gave me so much value. I wondered whether you had a course, but you didn't have one.
I had one before.
Yeah, this is what I found because I went onto your website, I was trying to click the button, and it was just freezing, and I was like, I'm trying to buy this guy's course, and he's not selling the course.
Because the thing, like I said, when I did have a course, I never marketed it though. I never like would go on my story and be like, "Come join us." Only time I do that is Black Friday because that's just kind of the only time to do it, right? But yeah, I just had this conscious decision of not doing like this heavy marketing and like telling people to join. It was just kind of more like if you want to join,
you could have
join.
done though, because as I say, like
If I wanted to, I would have the biggest course in the space.
100%.
Yeah.
Because you've got so many eyes on you, but I suppose.
But the thing is, I've just always been me. Like I know that if I'm not trading, there's no point in me having a course. And I think I'm probably quite a good trading teacher, and I enjoy teaching. But at the end of the day, if I'm not trading, I'm not gonna have a course. And I thought it personally, and I think it's true, it takes away from the podcast as well, and it takes away that, almost an element of trust is gone because it's like, this guy has an ulterior motive from the offset. Does that make sense? Like he has a course and he has this podcast and he's generating these views. He cares about that. But as soon as I eliminated that before the podcast really took off. So for that very reason, it was like I just want people to focus on the pod. I want people to focus on this, not is he doing this for this or this or that? No,
Will
just
you go
the pod.
back to trading?
Trading, I want to. Like I do want to, but it's not like a urgent thing. Like I don't. It's not like I, want to push myself massively to do it because I just know that, again, like we talked about, if I'm gonna go to trading and I want to do it well, I'm gonna need so much focus, and to be able to focus on that and the podcast at the scale that we do the podcast, it's just not gonna like. Both will probably end up suffering because I probably won't succeed at trading, which then will impact my mood, and I'm gonna sit there listening to this guy making 50 million, and I'm gonna be like. All angry and giving him like, that sort of energy. So I've just consciously decided not to. What I want to do, and I think that everyone should do, and I think actually you would probably be surprised at how much money you can make doing with maybe not the most extreme, crazy knowledge, is just stock investing, like short-term stock investing, like being able to invest into something like Apple, let's say when you see it's made a certain low, and you think Apple, everyone uses iPhones. Do you think Apple's going anywhere? Probably not. They're always innovating. Okay, cool. Let me just invest whatever I can afford to invest into this thing. And then, let's say if it ends up doing 30, 40% that year, that's great. And then I think over time, and then everyone can do that, right? That's the beauty of it. Anyone and everyone can do that. It doesn't require day-to-day tracking it. It just requires a little bit of research or at least understanding of like, okay, I don't think Apple's going anywhere. I don't think maybe something like Facebook, Meta, I don't think they're going anywhere.
Nvidia.
Yeah, exactly. Nvidia, stuff like that, right? I think that's the play. Now, that's definitely the play I'm interested in. But I think that's the play for everyone who's invested in trading. If it's not something you're truly passionate about and you think it's a get rich quick, definitely don't get into trading then. Focus on, okay, I'll just do whatever job and what I'm passionate about, but I could just invest. And over time, you'll probably make, hopefully by the end of your, by the time it's time to retire, you at least have a few million if you've done it, decently and done some, just good principles.
So has the podcasting then replaced all of your income?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
For trading. So how much money can you expect to make from podcasting? Bear in mind, we haven't made a penny.
Actually, we made 397 quid last week.
Yes, we did.
Is that the first one?
Yeah.
Monetization,
That's our first
boys.
money coming in the bank.
Congratulations.
Rather than going out of the bank.
Well, I was wondering though because I've not seen a dynamic with 3 hosts. Well, 4. You got 4 hosts.
4
usually,
normally.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how that's how that'll work out long term in terms of monetization because you got to split that 4 ways, right?
Yeah,
We're not in
luckily
it to make money.
that's good then.
we have like businesses that have been bankrolling the whole pod. We didn't realize how expensive it was to run a pod. I think we're about 65 grand deep now. So but it's okay. I think
minus 350 we made it.
minus 397, Jake. Actually, 397.
I like that there. No, but it's true. But it's great though because that's the mindset you should have. Is like you're doing it really. Podcasting really is like the best networking tool in the world.
Oh yeah, we love it.
Loads of networking already, and this is.
We just want it to pay for itself. Like generally, we don't really need to make money from it. But if it could pay for itself, be self-sufficient,
100%.
Then
you can definitely make money from it. I think it's like once it's gotten to a certain position, and it depends. Like the trading niche makes it easier, of course. You can imagine, right? Because there's so much money in trading and the finance industry. It just makes it so much easier. To monetize, I imagine, in comparison to others.
So how do you monetize the pod?
So we have sponsorships. Right now it's mainly sponsorships. So it's like, or is only sponsorships. And then obviously the YouTube ad revenue. But surprisingly, everyone assumes, I don't know why, they assume that you make so much, like hundreds of thousands from
YouTubers
AdSense.
make loads of money. Yeah, but
So I make, from AdSense, we do about like, on average, 4 to 5K a month, right? And we do 2 million views a month on average as well. But that's with short form as well. But so short form really doesn't pay that much. Long form, I would probably say we do about 600, 700,000 views. But that's why we're focused on the optimization side to like just double, triple those numbers in the next few months. But yeah, so like 4 to 5K. So that would pay about 60K a year, ish, which wouldn't be enough to live full time necessarily. Let's say if I had the podcast still renting studios, and maybe like just one editor, then I could probably do the podcast on maybe, I don't know, half of that. So cost of a half that, like 30K maybe a year, maybe. But that's like doing bare minimum. I don't think we'll get the same results. So then we probably wouldn't get the 4 or 5K a month relative. Anyway. But yeah, so we do sponsorships right now. But something that I've been put onto like the end of last year was like B2B. So rather than actually thinking about how do I monetize the podcast, it's helping the guests, connecting the guests with other businesses and making affiliates that way.
Okay, yeah.
Which is apparently like a huge gap that I'm
Middleman, right? Middleman,
exactly. Yeah. But that's the beauty of it. Is like, that doesn't cost you anything. It's nothing to do with the podcast.
Relationship.
Yeah, and it's just literally just connecting someone, and then that's it. Being able to monetize that way, but then also creating your own brands. So that's something we're focused on this year as well. Is like just creating our own brands off the back of it. But yeah, for the podcast though, we do almost $1 million a year through the podcast. So I think we're probably one of the best monetized podcasts.
Really, that's crazy.
That's
for 2.5 years. That is,
we can make money, boys.
You can, yeah, you definitely can.
I think having a real niche helps, definitely, for sure. Like we found even just with our marketing agency when we first started.
Of course, I can imagine.
Loads of different companies doing different things, but then when you've niche and fully going on that, then it's easier to sign clients because that's your speciality, whereas your speciality is trading.
So you know who to target, you know who to, what message to provide to them, what you're going to get them for results, and using case studies from the same thing. It's the same principle, yeah. No, like having the niche of trading has definitely made it easier because then, I can then you can position the podcast in that way. As we talked about positioning, I then position the podcast as the #1 trading podcast, as the best trading podcast, as the podcast where you come for trading versus this is the podcast where you can come for anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, like $1 million a year. It's crazy though because
that's crazy.
It doesn't feel that way simply because I reinvest everything.
Yeah.
I literally I've not bought a single thing for myself. I don't really do much luxury. The most luxury thing that I do is probably travel like business and stuff. But a lot of these tours, like this tour we just did, it wasn't like luxury travel. It was literally just travel, stay in a hotel, one night, bounce, do the same.
You got a new travel agent.
We travel business as much as we can.
You got a new travel agent.
As much as you can. It gets costly because I take my family a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So rather than, let's say if it was just me, it'd be easy. But then literally I've got my wife and then 2 kids. Normally, sometimes I might take another person as well to help with the kids if I'm working. So then those flights just stack up next level.
This is your main man, right?
I know,
here.
that's it. Yeah, you're saying.
Incredible at booking holidays.
That's
Speaking of travel, obviously you're going to Dubai in a sec, so we got to wrap it up. But what's next? What's next for you? What's next for the pod?
Just what we said, optimization right now. So right now, one thing I was just mentioning with that $1 million is that we just reinvest it all back into the channel, which it's a good thing and a bad thing. Like it's like right now I probably reinvest like 90% of it, right? And I don't know if that's just a natural thing that I've done, or it's more so like you see people like Mr. Beast and these people talk about it. But it's a whole different style of channel, it's a whole different type of channel. So it's like maybe that's not the best idea. But I would say that that's something I'm focused on is like, okay, just making sure that, okay, if I'm reinvesting all this amount, do I need to reinvest all this amount? Should I scale that back? Would that help? Because then other projects need investment.
What are you buying with £900,000? That's what I want to know.
So a lot of the studios, the editors, the traveling. The traveling is a large part of it because the travel, like I said, it will cost in terms of flying there. Then the studios that I'm booking, because I won't try and just get like the ones I started in, for example, just very plain. The studios I try and get now, they just cost a lot more.
Top tier.
Yeah. We'll try because sometimes you can't tell online until you get there, which is a funny part of the tour. But for the future though, is that like just learning how to manage that side of things probably a bit better. Also monetize better as well. Like I don't feel like I never had the mindset of monetization coming in. number one. It was actually my editor who was like, you should probably get a sponsor. I was like, what does that mean? I was like, what do you mean? And when we first got a sponsor, we fully undersold ourselves, like massively. We did like 5K a month. And we weren't that big, but 5K a month in the trading space and for what we were built and we'd never monetized before, super low.
People
Even
have money though, right?
this is the thing though, that even the person who did the sponsorship said to us, like, you're underselling yourself. And I was like, really?
Oh, really?
And I was like, really?
There's a lot. These firms make a lot of money. I guess the ones that
Make
want to
loads,
be
yeah.
associated with you, like they can make so much from it. But I guess you probably get approached by people that you don't want to work with as well. Does that happen?
Yeah, we get a mixture. We get loads of people who just like that product random. I'm sure you guys probably get them as well, like VPNs and like games, like mobile app games, and you're just like, never. I don't even know what this is. And then there's loads of firms and things that don't
That's a
resonate.
proper verifier,
That's a goal
right?
though as well. Like this year, so like the goals wise is to optimize the monetization as much as possible. Like try and optimize it and make as much as it should. To resonate and only do monetization and sort of sponsorships with companies that resonate with our new message as well, like with verification. So like really getting high quality, well-known, recognized brands. Then optimizing the actual channel itself. So from thumbnails to titles to getting deeper understanding of those stats you asked at the very beginning. So next time when you ask me, I'll know the answer. So we can optimize without having to do more output, but get more views from what we have. And then, just those other projects. So the podcast itself is kind of self-sufficient in terms of like, there's not much to add to it yet, right? We just went verification route like a couple months back. So, and we just done a huge tour. So I've got podcasts till August. So I don't really have to record anything right now.
That's fucking lovely. I wish we had that.
You got to work. Like literally, August is too far. I'll be honest with you. Like it's too far because like some of the things, let's say if you guys
Might
had
not be
that,
relevant. Right,
exactly,
right?
yeah. Some of the things that we might have talked about today, no one's gonna care about them. They're gonna wonder why are they talking about that. I'd always say like a month and a half to 2 is good. A month and a half to 2 is always like that's a sweet spot because you're not stressing then. And then plus if you record with someone when they talk about something relevant, you just put it out, right? And then you still got this bank.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm focused on other brands. I'm focused on my other brands. But what we're essentially trying to do is build the biggest media empire in trading space. And then eventually, maybe in like 3 to 5 years, look to sell it. And then, because there's a media company I did a podcast with. They were one of the original sort of content creators. And they weren't just a media company though. They were a broker as well. So that's probably why. But they sold for 1.1 billion.
Right.
But that's
Really?
I would imagine a
they
large
got
portion
part
of
of
that
it.
was the broker
That's a
side.
goal.
That's mental though.
But that's a
isn't
goal, yeah. But that same guy, he had sold a broker before that for 750 million. So he's close to 2 billion at that point, which is insane. But yeah, that's the goal. Create the biggest media empire on social media. And then look to, at some point sell it. I don't know about the podcast though, because obviously the podcast is WordsOfRizdom, so I don't know who could replace me.
it? AI.
They might have to put you on salary.
AI,
We've
though.
got AI.
That is the thing though. Like apparently someone was talking to me about it yesterday. Like the first AI podcast ever went out. I think it was on Spotify or something.
Really?
But apparently a portion of the pod, who was I talking to about this? But a portion of the pod, the AIs find out they're AI. And then they start like talking about it. Like you see one of them says like, in the beginning they were talking about their wife and kids. Then they clock on, they're actually not real. And I don't know. That sounds wild, right? Can you imagine? I need to find out if that's real though. Someone else told me about it and I was like, that sounds crazy. I want to know.
listen to that in the car.
Nah, yeah.
But but apparently with AI though, what you'll be able to do is lend or give your face and your voice to it, and then you'll be able to host it. So eventually you'll be able to be like, rather than me doing pods in person, and have to record anything, it'll literally be a case where as long as the other person has like a strong enough social media presence, they'll just be able to take the character of that person and they take all the lessons that person's done on socials and they know exactly what the answer would be to this. And then just mesh that together. And I can't wait because then I won't have to fly everywhere and I don't have to spend as much on the pod, But
Crazy.
I am equally excited for AI as I am scared about AI. At the same time, I don't know if the scariness comes from Terminator and all these movies where literally AI loses it and takes us all out, or if it's just a natural way to feel. But it's interesting though. I think that definitely you've already seen how much it helps. I've never actually used it. That's the funny thing. Everyone always gets shocked. So I've never used ChatGPT. I've never used AI in any way.
We put your name into ChatGPT. Do it and see what comes up.
What comes up?
Nah, that's all right. Nothing.
I'm scared.
The deepest,
Do you know what?
darkest secrets.
You know what? It'll probably come up. If you just put Riz, it'll probably just come up with like the this slang word that everyone uses now these last 2 years.
It's like dropping game on someone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
double
Dropping
Z though,
Riz.
isn't
The
it?
funny thing is, I don't even have any. I'm terrible. Yeah. That's the
No
worst bit
Riz.
about it.
Riz, no Riz.
Exactly. Yeah, that should be my podcast.
What should you say? No Riz.
But that's why people think that when they see Rizdom, because if they don't know me, they go, "Oh, I hate the name of your podcast. You're trying to be like these young kids or whatever." And I'm just like, "No, that's my name. Leave me
They
alone."
stole my name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To be honest, when I first saw the name of your podcast, I was
You
like,
think
oh,
so?
I like what you done there,
Yeah.
because I thought you were dropping Riz.
Financial
The name.
Riz.
Financial
dropping
Riz.
Financial
Rizdom,
Riz.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's actually
Riz,
There you go.
you're right. This has been a pleasure, honestly. Thank you
It's
for
been a
letting us
pleasure, yeah.
Thank you
come
for having
down.
us.
come
Legend.
through.
Yeah,
Really
no,
enjoyed
It's been
it.
really good.
Thank you.
Went the other way. Thank you for having me. That's what.
Guys and girls, just a quick one from me. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So please, please, please do us a massive favor. Go and just hit subscribe on YouTube. It will help us so much. We're trying to get bigger and better guests. We're investing into the content. So do us that favor and we'll show you all the love in the world. Thank you.